We take a look at this really big talking point this week on the Murray-Darling Basin, and we've been talking about the Water Minister Keith Pitt, his announcement that the Morrison government would no longer seek to recover water on farms or what they call farm buybacks to restore water in the Murray-Darling Basin. It's a big deal across our broadcast areas because we're in New South Wales Riverina, we're in northern Victoria, and we're in South Australia from the Riverland right through to the Murraylands and out to the Coorong. So there is different perspectives on this, but here at Flow News 24, my colleague Ricky Lambert has been investigating. He's our senior content producer, and he's assisted us with putting together this for today. And that early in the Basin Plan, we had these water buybacks. There was Two-Rail Station in the Darling Basin and also Twynham Agriculture Company. They were held up at the time when the ALP were in government as a means to bring more environmental water into the system. But in places like the Riverina in New South Wales where we're broadcasting, buybacks became a very dirty word. The News 24 teams had a look at this, and in particular trying to get to some of the stakeholders and some of the members of Parliament. One of them is the member for Northern Victoria, and he is an MP for the Liberal Democrats, Tim Quilty. And this is what he has to say concerning the idea of recovered water in the basin.
So obviously the Murray-Darling Basin plan is a big disaster. It's a big muck-up based on flawed science. Yes, it's probably good that they're not buying any water back from farms, so that's a very little win. But on the whole, it's not going to do anything. We've heard that all the water they're sending to the lower lakes is a complete waste of water. The lakes aren't supposed to be fresh, so there's a huge amount of water they recover just there. The whole plan needs to be redeveloped, not just little tiny tweaks, because we're just killing irrigation. But it's a small positive step, I guess. Now,
some of you on hearing that will be pumping your fists. You'll be going, yes, that's right. Others will be hitting the wall. And that is the polarising views that the Murray-Darling Basin captures across the 4 states, and in particular the 3 states that take water out of the Murray. And Keith Pitt, the Water Minister, with his announcement this week, certainly there is a view that plays into the hands of those in the New South Wales part of the basin. Now, that may well be the case. The South Australian Labor opposition, who have attacked their state water minister and premier for rolling over to the federal colleagues and allowing this to happen. Yet SA's local member for Barker, and that is Tony Passon, which includes the Murray that goes through the Riverland and into the Coorong, and it starts from the New South Wales Victorian border down the mid-Murray and so on. Well, he has said by putting an end to buybacks and investing in off-farm water efficiency, we're prioritising and protecting our communities and farmers. And some will be saying, hear, hear. Others, perhaps not. It's interesting as we consider shortly where the weather is going to be and rainfall patterns in our program this morning. Now, that decision has been made during the La Nina cycle, a wetter year, and if you like, we suspect that there would be an even louder anger about this decision if, say, South Australia were to be in drought. New South Wales more recently has been, and hence why the pressure on farmers for more water buybacks has seemed to be subsided. There may be some political pressure for that reasoning too. There will be a lot more said about this in coming days, and one will suspect that ministers and other members of Parliament, those that have an interest in water in New South Wales and Victoria and also South Australia, and whether they declare that interest, whether there is a public water register for farmers and also for owners and so on. These become the talking points. Keith Pitt has struck the first blow in saying that New South Wales farmers will not be subject to more buybacks, and that infrastructure will be used, particularly in northern Victoria, as a means to be able to put more water in the Murray-Darling Basin and therefore make up the numbers for environmental flows. That will take investment from the federal government. Maybe that's what the member for Barker, Tony Passon, is alluding to. We'll have more on this topic, I'm sure, as it unfolds, and it will unfold regularly here, particularly given the need for water and agriculture, and those two things needing to coexist with the environment. It is going to be one of those polarising things. If it keeps raining, then we may be okay. But if there are droughts, which there inevitably will be, then we're going to be back to the drawing board.